Full disclosure, I just recorded this entire video and went and had a look at it on my computer, and it was dreadfully boring. So I figured I'd give it another go. Today I just wanted to make a quick video. We talk about how you can use storytelling and content creation to grow your business, realize all your dreams, have a private jet and a Lamborghini and all that other baller stuff that I don't have, but I'm pretty sure I'll have it if I keep creating content. So the plan is I will take you around on my super fancy, awesome rollerblades, and I'll show you some of the coast here. We'll talk about just how in general how storytelling works and how you can go get away from just kind of being a little bit boring and dull in your content to telling stories that people want to pay attention to. So come with me, we'll go do some awesome stuff, and we'll talk about storytelling, and you'll be a rich baller with a private jet and a Lamborghini by the end of this video. And now I invite you to come and ride with me. Got the skates almost 2 years ago now, and got them purely for shooting rolling shots like this. Got back on the skates after a few times of being awful. Fell in love with skating again. And here I am in my fantastic new place with my studio and my skates, and happy as Larry. All right, how does storytelling fit in with growing your business? Well, first and foremost, people connect with stories. That's how they become emotionally invested. The idea is to get people to see themselves in your content. Then that's the first step in actually getting people to pay attention to your content. A lot of times when people want to grow their business, they talk about their products or they just talk about the facts of what it is that they have to offer, but it's the story element that actually gets people to become loyal followers of the brand. And we don't have to think about story as a big grand gesture. When I first started networking, I would hear a lot of business coaches and you would hear advisors, they would ask all the time, like, so what's your story? You know, like tell your story. And it was this generic kind of proposition that if you just tell your story, then that was the way to get people to believe in your business. But telling your story isn't just a matter of, the nuts and bolts of the very polarized, like this is what happened. We think about your story in micro bits. And so every time you make a post, it doesn't have to be more than, a sentence. A sentence can tell a story of how you do business or what your values are. And you want to use your content as little ways to kind of color in this montage of who you are and what it is that you have to offer and who that will help. And if you can consistently tell your story in a way where you can get people to understand how it relates to them, then you will start to see returns on your content. And a lot of people, maybe they create content, get deterred because I've done some videos or I've done a few photos or I've done a few posts and it doesn't translate to instant sales. And it's relationship building, and that goes back to the my last post, which was that content in essence is just communication. If you think about content as communication, and then the most effective form of communication is storytelling. If you think back to school, if you're sitting in math class and you're just going over just the bare facts and just memorizing things, then that's gonna turn people off. But as soon as you turn that into something that takes people on a bit of a journey, then people tend to be a lot more invested and a lot more interested, and it's much easier to retain that kind of content, and it's much easier to make a connection to that kind of content. Depending on what your audience will respond to, that's always going to shape how you approach your story, and depending on where your audience is, then you're always going to be changing the way that you deliver that story to be suitable for that environment. And case in point, I've already done this video once today. I went through the whole video, went and had a look at it on the computer, and because YouTube is a fairly new thing for me, I'd reverted back to kind of filming in the style that I use more so for LinkedIn. And I found it to just be flat and talking head, and didn't have the element of the journey, and it didn't tell you a little bit more about me and about my creative process. And so I decided to scrap that whole, kind of concept, and I grabbed my camera, grabbed my skates, and I came out just because I wanted to give you a little bit more insight into me. That's one element of the story that I'm using here in this video. So you're going to consider your audience first. You're going to consider what it is that they'll respond to and where they're going to consume their content. And then from there, is this going to be an informative story, or is it entertaining, or is it inspiring? And the best stories have components of all of these things. And so if you can find a way, then I think I want to call it infospirationaltainment. If you can make your storytelling infospirationtainment, then you've got a great opportunity for captivating the audience. And so if you have those elements in place, then the very next thing is that you need to have some kind of continuity in your story. There has to be a cohesion in terms of the quality of what it is that you're delivering or that you're offering. So if you think about any kind of film or any kind of TV show, if it has a plot hole, then it's going to be off-putting and you're not going to really be immersed in it in the same way. And so you have to have the cohesion in your story and across your brand. And if you consider the fact that your branding, your brand design, your brand colors, those things, they tell a story. They speak silent stories for you. The stories that you write in terms of your video or in terms of the copy that you put out, your products and services, every little element of your business or your brand, they're all little pieces of your story. And so you may have to make sure that when you're going into your storytelling element, that you don't have big gaps. And sometimes people, maybe they'll get in touch because they see an element of what I do or have to offer, and they think that'll really up the standard of how people perceive my business. But if the thing that's right next to that was like a bit of a weak link in the chain, then you're going to lack that continuity and that consistency in terms of the quality of the story that you're telling. And that's the kind of things that makes people less, reticent to trust you in a way. And so to build that trust and to build the relationship, you have to have the consistency in the story that you tell, and that spans across, your branding and your copy and your video, your imagery, your web design, every element. You need to have everything to be on par for it to be a convincing story ultimately. Think about who your audience is and where they're located, what kind of content they're going to respond to, and how people share content in those places. And then from there, you have to make sure that you have consistency across all of your content so that your brand message, your brand identity, and your brand story, these things all align. And once you get all of these elements of your story together, then everything else falls into place and people will see themselves as benefiting from what it is that you have to offer. So if you like the video, I'd appreciate you give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and in the meantime, I will look forward to catching up with you in the next video. Peace. All right, let's go skate. Let's go do some more skating. This place is awesome. And this concludes our skate around Worthing, UK.